And now, after years of planning, sweating, and going broke, here is the Boots and Whiskey Podcast with Jim Belisle.
I'll alert the media.
Why they would give this man a podcast is anyone's guess.
Then there is what could only be a bizarre coincidence or something else.
Welcome to the Boots and Whiskey Podcast with Jim Belisle.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
Country music and fine moonshine. Finally, a podcast that lets it all hang out.
Let's level with America.
Got your boots? Ready for some whiskey?
These boots are made for walking.
One of these days, these boots are gonna walk all over you.
And now, the Boots and Whiskey Podcast with Jim Belisle.
Hey everyone, Jim here, Boots and Whiskey Podcast. Welcome back to another episode. This week we have, who do we have? We have Shay Boyton on from the Barlow. And here's a fun fact that none of you are going to think is funny except for me because I'm a fucking idiot. But Shay's last name is not Barlow. It's been in my phone that way for, God, almost 3 years now, but no big deal. They have a new album coming out this Friday that I have been listening to since Shay sent it to me in, God, I think January. It is fantastic. It's one of those albums where, and I'm not just saying this because he's on the show, but it's one of those albums that doesn't have any skips. And that's very, what's the word I want? Rare to have an album this solid from a band that's independent and doing it on their own and just kicking ass. So Friday, check that out. They have some singles out now. Yeah, so go check it out. Shay is here. We have talked to Shay before. This conversation was way more fun than the first one. They're all good, right? But we have, you'll see. So that's it. Sit back, relax, enjoy. I hope you all had a nice Easter if you celebrate. If not, I hope you had a great weekend. What did we do? Oh, we went and saw our buddy Nick Casey, who played an acoustic set at a brewery in Connecticut. I don't even remember the name of it because the beer was good. Sorry, Mom. But yeah, Nick Casey is going to be on the show in 2 weeks from today. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Because he's got an album coming out. And, you know, friends come first, right? Next week we have Wes Ship on the show. That's going to be an episode you're not going to want to miss either. We got some cool shit happening, so stick around. Thursday night this week, we're going to go see that band I talked about last week. I think I talked about them. Overserved again. We're going to see them Thursday night. They're going to come on the show soon, too. We got a lot of cool shit going on. So, hang out. Wow, you know, the more I say we have cool shit happening, like, it's like true. We have a lot of cool shit happening. I'm not just saying it to hear myself talk. But yeah, hang around, sit tight. Shay Boyton from the Barlow is here. If it's your first time here, welcome. Go check us out on all of our socials and all that stuff at Boots and Whiskey Podcast. If you are listening in an agent or an artist or whatever, PR firm, what have you, and you have a roster and you want us to take a look at who you have, we have a new email address. It's booking@bootswhiskey.com. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for being here. We will see you on the flip side. Enjoy the show.
We'll put it.
I love the hat.
Thanks, man. Thanks. What's on your hat? I love your sweatshirt. That looks so comfy.
Shameless self-promotion.
You got to.
It's just
You
Sundays.
gotta.
It's Sunday laundry days, so I'm rocking a
Yeah.
bottom. This is a Red Dirt hat company.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, my buddy Eric gave it to me.
Nice. Yeah, I had my Shane Smith and the Saints sweatshirt on, and it just got way too hot in here, so I was like, "Fuck it."
In New England in March.
I know. Yeah. Believe it or not, it actually hasn't been too bad the last few weeks here.
No.
No, and it's supposed to, like, this week. The Sox home opener is on Friday.
Yep.
And it's going to be like 65.
Hell yeah.
and we will be there. So I'm
Are
excited.
you?
Yeah,
I bet those were cheap tickets.
I don't know. They were a birthday gift.
Those are the best kind.
That's right. That's right. So
Are we?
what's
Are we
that? Oh
going?
yeah, no. Oh yeah, we're recording.
Okay.
Like this is just come on. You know better than that. This is how this goes.
Figured I asked before I say something stupid.
Dude, we the jury's still out with that. So it was nice to meet you in real life.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Like,
trying to minimize myself because I don't want to look at myself.
oh,
There we go. Okay. Yeah,
there you
man.
go.
It was good to meet you. Thanks for showing
Yeah,
up. Thanks for hanging out. It was good.
absolutely. Thanks for inviting me to hang out.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess we probably should give the audience backstory. We met. I was in town I was staying in New Hampshire visiting family, and we were going to a Bruins game with my aunt and uncle and brothers and cousins, and Jim came out to say hi and introduce himself, and
Yeah,
it was cool.
it
And
was. It was a lot of fun.
we got to watch the Bruins beat the Avalanche
Yep.
in Boston. It was good.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like one of the last games they actually played well, the Bruins. So it's
Yeah.
fun.
We without fail, we bought a Marchand jersey. I bought a Marchand jersey for my son, and that didn't age well.
No, it did not. It did not. You know what's funny about that? I was going to we were going to Blake Shelton at the Garden, and I'm sitting at the bar and I'm looking at my phone, and that's when like all that trade stuff was coming through,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what a place to be sitting,
Yeah.
right now while all this shit is going down.
I was in Dallas. We were playing in Dallas, and yeah, my phone started popping off, and I'm just like, "What the fuck?" Like they just gutted this team,
Yeah,
and it's just been the fucking wheels have come off since.
yeah, it really has. They're gonna have to rebuild that team for years now at this point.
Yeah. The only silver lining is Charlie Coyle came here. He came to Colorado.
That's true.
So if I go to an Avs game, I can root for old Charlie Coyle.
Yeah, yeah. Where's he from? Braintree or some shit?
He he's from Mass, isn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 One of those fucking.
But then they got rid of Brandon Carlo, which was a Colorado boy. He went to the fucking Toronto, out of all places, and then of course Marchand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, but the Celtics aren't going to have any more luck either because they have new ownership and they're not gonna pay those guys what they're worth.
No, I don't Celtics. I don't basketball. So you talk me.
Neither do I. Neither do I. I just know that there's new ownership and my thoughts on the NBA I probably can't say without getting canceled. So.
But either way, it was cool. It was cool going through the Hall of Fame, like that whole level, and seeing all the Patriots rings and all the different artifacts and stuff. It was cool. I enjoyed it.
Nice. Yeah. You got the hookup that day.
Yeah.
You got
My
the
cousin,
hook
my cousin,
up.
my cousin from Boston she worked for the Bruins, so yeah, she had access to the floor where Nesson sits and they commentate and the little museum there. It was cool, man. Like I don't know who was more excited, myself or my son. It was rad.
That's awesome. Those are always the best moments is when, you can have fun and your kid can have even more fun and it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Like there's a restaurant here that's called Casa Bonita. Have you heard of it?
No.
They did a South Park episode on it years ago, and the owners the creators from South Park, the restaurant was going under, and it's just this crazy restaurant. There's cliff divers, and it's just wild inside. But the creators, Matt Stone, Trey Parker, bought the restaurant through COVID and gutted it, redid it, and yeah, we just got to go like a couple weeks ago, and it was the same thing. Like, it was just like I don't know who was more excited, my son or me. It was awesome.
What kind of food do they have?
It's Mexican food.
Oh, okay. I mean, that would make sense. Casa, whatever.
Yeah. Anyways.
Is it any good?
Like, notoriously, they're known for like shitty food. Like back in the day, because they were built in the 70s, and the food was god awful. But you didn't go for the food; you went for the experience, the cliff divers, and there's just the place is just filled with these nooks and crannies of just like weird shit.
Oh,
And
all right.
but like it's cool because like nothing's changed, but it's better. So I don't know.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
I
and
totally understand
they've
what you're
added
talking
like
about.
South Park shit in there, and like Trey Parker and Matt Stone did a bunch of the voices for all the little characters inside, and like they put their touch on it, but like very classy. Like
Gotcha.
they didn't overdo it with South Park shit. It's still Casa Bonita.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, so from where you are in Colorado, right, to like where, what town is South Park supposed to be?
So, I believe South Park is a county in Colorado, and like
Okay.
Fairplay's there, Jefferson. It's probably 2 hours west of me.
Okay. All right.
It's in the mountains. I don't know why they picked South Park because like there's not a whole lot there.
Well, maybe that's why they picked it.
Maybe
You know, I mean, and at the time, when South Park was coming out, nobody gave a shit about Colorado.
fair,
You know,
fair. Yep.
but it's kind of like here with Family Guy. People ask all the time, well, what town's Quahog supposed to be? And it's like, well, it depends on who you ask.
Isn't it Rhode Island?
Yeah, yeah, but like I guess like where they are, like some people think they're in Cranston, some people think they're in West Warwick. Some, it's
Sure.
all kinds of shit,
Yeah.
But but yeah, dude, it was cool to meet you. It was when you texted me that morning, and I was like, you know what, I was actually potentially going to the game on Saturday too, and like once you said it, I was like, fuck it, we're going.
Yeah. Oh hell yeah! I'm glad. It was cool to meet you in person, and I know a ton. I know a lot of country bands don't make it up your way, so like, I mean,
No,
probably the bigger names and whatnot. But yeah, it was cool. Like, I love New England. I always will. I love going back, and yeah, we'll be back this summer.
nice. Yeah, don't ever come back to live. I wouldn't.
I mean, like
It's all right. That's fine.
I came back for 2 years after high school, and the winters were just fucking brutal. And I know they've definitely kind of smoothed out, but like, dude, I think New England's a great place to like raise a family.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's things about it that I miss, like especially in the wintertime. Like, if you're living more even rural New England, like you're in it, right? Like you want a snowmobile, ski, ice pond hockey, like the whole, like you're in it. Believe it or not, like where we live, like trying to get to all that stuff's a pain in the ass, right? Because you're dealing with
Yeah.
ski traffic, trying to get to the mountains to do that stuff. It's not in our backyard. Like people would think, unless you lived in the mountains, but I live on the plains, so it's like you have to go to it. So I don't know. There's cool shit about Maine that sometimes like I miss like doing as a kid, running around the woods and like all that shit, and you don't necessarily get that here, like especially in in a metropolis. It's I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. Like, because where I am, I'm about, what, a half an hour south of Worcester and about 20 minutes north of Providence. And, it's easy to get anywhere.
Yeah,
Everything and anything you'd want to do is within really an hour.
yeah. The Cape,
Yep. Yep. I mean, I don't want to go there, but yes.
cool area though.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not bad. I just don't, it's too touristy.
Yeah, sure. I get
And
that.
there's only two bridges. There's only one way to get on and one way to get off.
Hey, but you know what? The first Dunkin' Donuts is in Quincy, Mass.
That's true. And anybody that knows anything about Dunkin' Donuts knows it's consistently inconsistent.
Yeah, yeah. They're a lot better. They're a lot better in New England though.
Are they?
They are. Yeah. It's.
No shit.
I mean, you can't make as good a donuts just because of the altitude here. But
Really?
yeah, like bread, donuts, all that shit. So they're better in New England.
Huh.
I think the coffee's better too. They make a better drink.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And Dunkin' sucks. So that's awesome.
I know all my friends say that. When I was back home, I was like hitting my buddy up, like, "Hey, I'm coming over. You want some Dunkins?" He's like, "I don't drink that shit."
No, it's it's weird. It's weird. Like if you're not a Dunkin' person, you're not a Dunkin' person. There's no
Yeah.
like middle ground.
I love it. It's just
Yeah.
nostalgia.
Yeah. Absolutely. But like when we were growing up, it was better.
Yeah, probably like
Or
any.
we thought it was better, right?
It's like the Boston Bruins. Over time, they just gut them. squeeze every penny out of it they can.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, man, it's wild. It's wild living here, especially in the last, you know, 15, 20 years. You know,
Sure.
it's so different. But
Yep.
so you got some shit going on, huh?
Yeah, we got a
It,
little bit of shit
I
going.
guess I guess that's kind of why you're here, other than to talk to me and shoot the shit.
Yeah.
So by the time this episode comes out, it's going to come out the week that the new album comes out.
Yep.
Um,
Okay.
which I have to say, and I'm not just telling you this because you're my friend and you're here, but I've told you this a million times in the last 3 months. It's fantastic.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man, we put a lot into it. Like it's kind of I was kind of sitting back the other day thinking about like it's hard to even quantify not just money, but like just the time and the thought and the like just the overall just you can't quantify what we've put into it, you know, like it's crazy how like how much time we spent with the record to bring it to the finish line. And like I remember hitting the send button, like sending all the tracks to go to mix and master, and it was just like it was weird because I felt like I didn't have any purpose after that. like,
Right.
like that was all we had done for a year or more, just
Yeah.
like, and I don't think we were overthinking it. It was just like it was like touch and go, right? Like we get busy playing shows, and it was like come back to it, and it was just like was kind of always there. That's something that we were working on, and yeah, it was just weird to push it out the door.
Yeah. Now, is it one of those things when you're working on something like that, and it's like you said, it was everything for so long. Do you also feel like you can breathe too once it's done?
Yeah, that was nice. Like that was nice to like be like, cool. Like this isn't on my plate anymore. So
Right.
it's nice to go like, all right, cool. Like I'm gonna go back to writing songs again, and like not really working on stuff that's already been written and trying to finish it, but just like, or just beating myself to death listening to the record and picking it apart and doing different shit, whatever. Like that whole process was over. So since I've been trying to write like crazy, like the intention, like so we cut 3 songs initially for that record, and it was High Spirits, Standing Next to Me, and Dreams for Tomorrow, which Dreams for Tomorrow we released as a single a couple years ago. But initially that was just the intent, was they were just going to be singles that we were just going to kind of finish at our leisure and drop them. But that turned into like, well, all right, well, let's do a record. So then I was like, okay, well, I need to keep writing. So I kept writing, and so we had kind of this long chunk of time that we didn't put any material out. And so I kind of want to go back to that initial thought of like, all right, we have material. Let's go get in the studio and cut some more stuff and just put music out. Like
Yeah.
I don't care if they're singles, whether people hate them or not, or hate the whole single like deal. But I mean, it's kind of the world we live in. But it just keeps us in that kind of rotation that
Yeah.
like,
It keeps you relevant.
yeah, and not just from a like a publicity standpoint, but just for us to like keep being creative and writing and just churning out stuff. Because to me, that's kind of my favorite part. I love playing live, but to me, like I really like writing songs. I really like recording and the production and watching it kind of come to life. Like that to me is more of the artsy part of it that I enjoy more than sitting in an RV for 12 hours and playing for an hour and a half. I love playing live, but it's like that to me is like that's the craft.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, so when you were putting this whole album together, and like I'm sitting here kind of like looking at my computer because I have the bootleg version of it that you sent me,
Sure.
even though it's the real version. Um, so were you not doing anything other than just this? Were you not writing songs? Were you not
Not
really kind
really.
of like doing that?
Not really. No, I mean, like I said, we cut 3 of the songs in the winter of 2023, and then we went and cut the rest winter of 24. So kind of in between that time, I was finishing those last 7, and then not really. No, it's kind of one or the other. Like
Yeah.
there's no reason you couldn't do both, but it's really like when I'm in right mode, I'm in right mode, and like it's like a muscle. Like I've noticed if I stop, I got to flesh out like a few shitty ones, and then
Sure.
it starts to gain some traction. But yeah, I don't know. It's for me, it's always one or the other.
Yeah. No, I wanted to ask you, and I think I may have at one point when I saw you in person, but I had a couple of drinks at that point, so I don't remember. Um, Now, you have these 10 songs on this album, right? How did you determine the way in which they were going to be put on the album?
So there's a couple factors with that. Like when you're doing a vinyl, I think you get 19 to 22 minutes aside.
Okay.
So part of that is you kind of have to split up the longer songs, right? Put one on each side. And so there's a little bit of that, but also just, I don't know, I think it's like an overall natural cadence of the record. And we actually kind of went rounds on the actual sequence or order of songs all through our group chat. So we kind of whip out almost like a set list, right? Like this is kind of how I hear the record. And you kind of start there, and then we had like a Google Drive, so we'd reorganize them in the Google Drive, and then we'd all kind of listen to them in that order. And you might go, this really I got a slower tune here. Maybe you throw in a more upbeat tune after it, or this one goes better here. But all kind of working in the confines of you got 19 to 22 minutes aside on a vinyl record.
Yeah.
Old school way of thinking, but like ultimately we knew we were going to press vinyl, so it had to be part of the decision.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So how many rounds did you guys go through before settling on
Not many,
this?
probably a couple few, and then
Yeah.
there might have been a couple last little tweaks like, hey, I think we should move this to, 8 or 9 or this, you kind of know which ones are going towards the front of the record. Like again, an old school way of thinking, but a lot of times back in the day, the singles were like track number 2 or track number 3. So like we
Right.
kind of that we would front load them with the singles a little bit. And, yeah, I don't know. I try not to think too hard about it. It's like, to me, at the end of the day, songs go out into the wild. If they're good songs, people will listen to them. That's just how it works. No matter how much money you put behind it or your virality or any of that bullshit, it's just like we've got songs on older records that we never thought would do shit. We're always wrong when it comes to that, by the way. Like, and I think most artists would agree with that. Is like, you think like this one's a single, this one's gonna probably do the best, or it's the strongest one, and you're always wrong. Like, we've had songs like on our last record that we didn't do any marketing behind. We didn't do anything with. They were just an album cut, and they've kind of crept up as far as like one of our top streamers.
Sure. Now, I was going to say something about the album. I can't even remember. It'll come to me. It'll come to me like when I'm laying in bed later. I'm like, I should have. That's what I was asking. But with these songs, right, that are on the album that are coming out, we're talking, we're getting there sooner rather than later. But when this comes out, it'll be the week of. How many of these songs have you played live, and how many of them haven't you played live? Haven't seen the light of day yet?
We've played 1, 2, 3, 4 of them live.
Okay.
Yeah. So like,
so the other 6, has anybody heard those other 6 ever until they get the album?
One of them's out. The one we just released last Friday, "Rope in the Wind," that one's out, but we haven't played it yet. I texted all the guys the other day. We're going to Jackson Hole on Thursday, and I told them, hey, like, brush up. We'll run it during sound check, and that's kind of how we do things. Like, we don't really ever rehearse. I know, humble brag, but like, it's kind of the last thing on our minds when we're playing shows all the time, is like to come home and play our songs more.
Yeah.
So like, we just try and loop shit in as we go, like sound check. We'll bust out the acoustics in the RV and learn something, brush up, whatever we got to do.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because it's like, I know a lot of bands and a lot of artists that, once they put like an album out, like they'll never listen to it again.
No.
unless they play the songs live, then that's different.
If you're going to if you're going back in your catalog and picking out a song that you haven't played in a long time, yeah, I'll go listen to it. But yeah, I don't. I'd like to think I'm not that self-absorbed to drive around and listen to my own music. When you're making the record, yes, that's part of it because you're analyzing it, you're being critical of things. But like, no, when it's out, like it's not for me to sit and listen to. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's how it is with me with this shit. Like I don't listen back to these episodes. Like I was here. I know.
You lived it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But like, there's episodes like I have this awful habit of recording episodes and then they don't come out for like a month or 2 months later, and like people will like message me or text me or whatever and be like, hey, like, are you good? Like, what's going on? Like, what, whatever the conversation was. And like, they were like, I listened to your podcast. I was like, dude, I recorded that a month and a half ago. Like, I don't remember what was said.
Right.
And they're like, you don't listen back to it. I was like, no, one, I don't have the time to do that. And two, like, no.
But you're probably doing, in your world, you're probably doing like something similar to what I would do. Like you're probably looking at other podcasts, and trying to sharpen your sword or just find new angles and new ways to interview. And like, there's a craft and an art to what you do as well. Like, at this point, again, another humble brag, but I've done a ton of interviews where like some of them are fucking painful.
Yeah. Oh, dude, you're telling me. You're preaching to the choir.
There is an art to it. Like I remember we did a radio interview and like I felt like I was just dragging this DJ to the finish line the whole time. It was so hard to just converse. Like, so I maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but I would think you're consuming other shit other than the stuff created.
Yeah. And a lot of it is like, it's not even just other podcasts I listen to, because I do. Like, I listen to Rogan, Theo Vaughn.
Sure.
But like, I'm also trying to find other artists too to like, I don't want to say latch onto, but like and want to talk to.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. A lot of that. And it's just, as you know, right? Life is consumed with way more than just, I'm not saying that, your band is just your hobby, but like, there's other things you do. You're a dad, you're a husband. There's other priorities, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people lose sight of that too when you're not in it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, like even just coming off the road, I'm like, all right, dad mode. Like, not only do I physically need to be present, but like mentally and all that shit. And like, there's just a whole bunch of shit I got to hang up at the door when I come home, and I got to deliver on that. Like they know when I'm fucking checked out, or like, I mean, inevitably we've come home from some tours and runs that I'm just like, I need a day, a day just to fucking feel like a human being again. And then, you try and, so yeah, I mean, part of that's just life, right? It's just a balancing act and trying to make sure you're who you need to be when you need to be it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Right. Now, do you find you have those days more so when you come home from the road if like the gigs don't go as well as you were hoping?
Like those days are harder?
Yeah.
No, like the sleep just sucks. No matter if shows are good or bad, like you're just dogging, like you're tired. A lot of people, I think a lot of people have the misperception that it's like we're just out partying and it's sightseeing and doing all this shit. Like, dude, normally like the extent of it is pretty much like staring down a white line, going down the road, and loading in, sound check, trying to get some sleep or trying to get a meal and playing. And it's like there's no time for anything else.
Right.
You're either driving or you're at the venue trying to rest, trying to play, load out, and off you go.
Yeah. Now, before you hit the stage, how, even in those moments where you're like, I'm just cooked, right? Like how do you get yourself to a point where you get out on stage and it's like none of the bullshit, none of the tired, none of the the crazy matters because you're in that moment. Like, what do you do to get to that point?
I mean, a lot of Red Bull, a lot of Monsters, and then I think there's just something that that just kind of fires once when you go. Like it's
Yeah,
the cannon's lit, and you just that's what you do. You turn it on and you do your thing, and like I don't know, like I try and listen to music, get in a good mood, and bullshit with the boys, and just kind of fuck around until it's time to go. I try not
yeah,
to. There's probably only been a few instances where I'm like sleeping, like 20 minutes up until we get on stage, and then you're kind of just like waking up trying to figure out where the fuck you are for 20 minutes. But yeah, I don't know.
yeah, yeah. Now, what about those shows where like going back to it because I love to talk about like the not so fun parts of all of this, right? Where it's like you get on stage, you're playing a couple of songs, and just everybody, you're not feeling it, the boys aren't feeling it. Like, how do you get out of that as like somebody that's on stage?
Toilet humor.
Okay.
So we have talkback mics. I run one on the backside of my amp, and then Ben, our drummer, has a talkback mic that only we can hear in our ears, so we can communicate on stage.
Yeah.
And you just try and break it with humor and jokes and just fucking with each other. And like if you can tell everybody's just kind of like going through the motions, like you try and I personally try and like change the vibe, right? Like there is a way to change it, like especially as a front dude, like me going up there and being fucking mopey and like I don't know. I try and like to me it's perspective. Like I try and always think like it could be way worse, right? Like I've shoveled rocks, I've framed houses, I've done all kinds of labor jobs that fucking suck. So it's like playing guitar and singing like doesn't suck. Like it's
Yeah.
fun what we came to do. Like and I try and always remind myself of that, like not get down on things if the crowd's light or it feels like people aren't digging us and sometimes we're completely wrong. Like sometimes you'll play a room and especially running in-ears, like you feel like you're playing in a fishbowl sometimes because like you can't really hear a lot of the audience or the kind of the room. So like sometimes we're playing and I'm just like, they fucking hate us. like, like
Yeah.
we're blowing it. And then you get done and everybody's like, great show, man, great set or whatever, and you're like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
know,
Well, like,
sometimes
and I asked that. Go ahead.
no, I'm just saying sometimes it's hard to read. Sometimes a lot of times we're wrong.
Yeah. I say that because we were talking, we kind of were hitting on it a little bit, but like, I've had episodes here where it's like, I literally want to jump off the roof, then finish the episode, right?
Yeah.
Or finish the conversation. And, and like some of those times are with people I'm really excited to talk to, and then it's like, wow, you disappoint, you disappointed, and it's like you were talking about with some of the interviews you've done where it's like trying to like
Yeah.
get anything, it's
Dragging them to the
brutal.
finish line. Yeah. Yeah.
I had a guest that I did not too long ago. I'll text you who it was later. But like I was so psyched to talk to him, and like it took everything in me to get a half an hour
Yeah.
because it was just like, dude, like, and like this isn't just somebody, has a career, has like shit going on, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was like,
And
whew.
life is life. Those are tough because it's like maybe they had a rough night the night before.
Right.
Maybe they were up till 4 a.m. doing things they shouldn't have been doing. Like I don't. It's yeah. I've had those. I've definitely seen a lot of those interviews. Not necessarily yours, but just like watching podcasts and shit where it's just like 50 questions. Like you can't get anything out of them. Like just yep, nope,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lights on, ain't nobody home.
Right, right. And then it's like, there's been, I've had PR people like send me like, well, these are the things you can talk about. And I'm like, we're not going to talk about any of that.
Yeah,
We're not,
yeah.
like, we had Scotty Hastings on and his PR team, like, they were like, here's all the things that you can touch upon. And like, we got on the phone and I was like, Scotty, we're not doing any of that. And he's like, awesome.
Perfect.
It was right. Then that's the way it's going to be,
That are
because if,
that are the ones that you have to avoid, right? Like these are
yeah.
can't bring up. It's like whatever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like, because there's artists that I would love to have on that have like, being in the industry, you hear stories, and it's like I want to poke that bear so bad,
Yeah.
you
Yep.
know.
I hear you.
But and I tell them straight out, I'm like, listen, we're gonna talk about it,
Yeah. Yeah. I
you
mean,
know.
then there's like the whole side of the industry that's just like, there's so many fucking snakes in the grass, like there's that shit too. And we've learned to avoid them. We've learned to say no. And, I think, sometimes sometimes the best shows we've played are the ones we didn't, like we
Mhm.
got offered some show in Aspen, I don't know, a couple months ago. And it was like on basically loading all your shit up in the gondola, taking it up to fucking like 12,000 feet elevation, no cover on the stage, towing your shit on a snowmobile. Sounds cool. On paper, it sounded cool, and we didn't end up doing it because I'm like, this sounds like a disaster. All this gear, all this shit, like no parking, and like in hindsight, it was the best show we never played because it was a fucking disaster. So I don't
Yeah, I
know,
bet.
just stuff like that where you're like, you just sometimes it's okay to say no, and
Yeah,
it's you. Unfortunately, I think every band or artist has to learn that lesson the hard way.
yeah. There's a. I don't know. I don't know what it is, and maybe you could put some insight on it. But like, there seems to be this new thing in the industry where a lot of these up and comers, it sounds like I'm talking shit, and I'm not. Like, they think they're bigger than they are. So like their PR teams are like, well, send us an offer, send us this, send us that. And it's like, your person has 3 songs on Spotify. Like,
Yeah,
what do you mean you want me to sell myself to you? Yeah, and I know that sounds super arrogant, right? But
sure,
like, but like, at the same time, it's like I'm trying to get your person out into the
right,
world. What little piece I have, you know,
right.
and it's like, yeah, your songs are good, but you're not,
No, I hear you. I try and again perspective, like I try and understand kind of where we stand as far as our popularity, success, if you want to call it that, and like my favorite artists to play with are the ones that like never lose sight of that, right? Like
yeah,
it's to me like if this thing were to take off tomorrow, and maybe I'm gassing you up a little bit, but a guy like you that's kind of always been cool to us, I would never not do your podcast. I wouldn't
right,
like to me it's like those people that I was thinking about this a few months ago. It's really I think it's really easy for fans to latch on to a band that's on a rocket ship or that's already made it. Like
yep,
and I'm not bashing music fans at all. It's really tough to latch on to a small band that's still grinding it out, that's still playing the clubs and still like in the trenches. And not to say that these bigger guys don't have any kind of sacrifice or don't have any kind of loss doing this thing. But like it's tough. Like I get it. It's hard to latch onto a small band that's still playing in little bars that, with the stage 1 foot off the ground and like
right.
I get it. Like but to those people that do, like it's so meaningful. Like it's so
Oh yeah,
meaningful to have those people. And like I've always been really weird with the word like fans. Like I don't know, dude. Like anybody that comes to see us and supports this thing and loves what we do, like they're my fucking buddies. Like and I know I
yeah,
know I know that doesn't scale. Like I get that, but I don't know. Like the fans title and the artist title, I'm like, man, I'm just a fucking dude who just tries to work hard and has fun doing this thing and like appreciates the people that buy tickets and merch and just show up and listen to music and tell their friends and like I don't know.
Yeah, no, and like, I can speak to this now, but like the way you are here is exactly who you are in person. And that's to me that's almost half the battle.
I think part of that comes from too like I feel like I've met so many people in this industry that are like that want to kiss the right ass, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
kiss the right ass and anybody else aside from that, like that isn't going to serve their objective, I guess. Like fuck them, right? Like I hate that.
yeah,
Like I just, it's to me, it's just so much easier to just be nice and friendly with everybody, and it's like I don't know. I don't get enamored by all that bullshit. I try and just be myself. I feel like the rest of the guys are carry themselves very much the same way. Like I don't know.
yeah,
It's a weird topic, but and it's a weird industry where everybody's trying to get notoriety, and it's like I get it, but I don't know. I'd rather just I'd rather do it with integrity.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And it's one of those things where I've seen it from the outside, right? But like from everything I've seen and everything I've talked to you about and the conversations and like, you know, you're doing it. You're doing it that way.
I hope so. I mean, I try and tell the guys all the time, like there's no reason to be a shithead to anybody doing this. Again, the other side of this is shoveling rocks, roofing houses, framing houses, digging ditches. Like, just like be nice. It's super easy. Like,
Yeah.
not just for not altruistically and not for our just personal benefit, but like, we've had situations where like we've gone in and like people are like, hey, the sound guy's he's fucking irritable, and like we start in with the dick jokes and the toilet humor, and like they're our buddy in fucking a half hour. Like there is a way to approach this that's like you don't have to be a shithead and you don't have to be walk around with an ego, and like it's just have fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially in an industry like this,
Yeah,
where like really, you know, again, and I'm not taking away from anybody's talent or anything like that, but it's like at the end of the day, you're just playing songs.
yeah,
You're not. It's not brain surgery. It's not. You're not saving lives.
yeah,
You're providing a service for people that want to have fun.
yeah. Absolutely.
I've never been to a show where like the crowd wants to be there to be fucking miserable.
No, you're making memories for yourself and for the people there, and you know, yeah, just you keep. I just still like you keep all that shit in perspective. Like I just don't think you can go wrong.
Yeah. And like, trust me, I know it. I hear it. I see it. I'm sure touring is very stressful.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't. You have to be a chameleon in a sense that like, hey, yeah, you drove all day, fucking tired, you're hungry, and somebody wants to sit and chop it up with you for a little bit. Cool, like
Yeah.
you give people the time of day, and don't feel like you've cut people off and you're unapproachable and all that shit. We've played with those bands, like it's uncomfortable,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep. Yeah. And like, there's even been times where like, I've had days where it's like, shit, I've got to do an interview tonight. I'm exhausted, whatever. And like, you do it, or, hey, sorry, one of the kids is sick. I gotta reschedule.
That's always a good out.
Like,
Yep.
you, you, if I don't want to do something, I'm always using my kids as the excuse.
Yeah, they're sick. Not give me a ticket. Sorry, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I gotta wash my hair again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, um, it's so the industry. We've we've talked about this. You know, the industry is just, it's wild. It's the Wild West.
It is, man. It is. It's cool in the sense that, bands like us can just put music out worldwide and, reach, whatever audience. But, it's bad in the sense that bands like us can put shit out to the, right? There's a lot of music that's out there these days, and, people, lobbying for attention and notoriety. And it's like, I don't know, just try and exist among all that is tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now with the album coming out, right? What are you most looking forward to once it's out? Out in the ethos. Everybody's got it. Like, are you once it's out, do you just, I don't want to say forget about it, but do you kind of have to forget about it?
No, I mean, you keep pushing the record and, start playing the songs. It'll be nice to loop brand new material into the sets. And yeah, I mean, see the response, right? Like, you hope that
Yeah.
it lands with people and people relate, and just kind of what we talked about earlier, like those songs that you're like, that you didn't think that are going to see the light of day. Like, well, it's kind of fun to see what those do. And yeah, just the overall response, like how people react and share it with their friends and all that shit,
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Now we talked about, you being wrong about the songs that are going to do well and the songs that, I don't want to say don't do well, but don't have what you thought they were going to do.
Sure.
Is there a song on here that like a part of you is like, I know this song isn't going to probably do what I wish it would do, but I want it to do?
I mean, probably, I don't know. It's like saying which one of your kids is your favorite.
We all have everybody that has multiple children has a favorite, Shay.
Yeah.
We all know that.
Or your least favorite, the one you'd put the oxygen mask on first. If down. I mean, so like the last song on the record, Lost Angel Saloon, that's not our song. That's a Drag the River song, and Drag the River was a band from Colorado. My favorite Colorado band by far. They were an alt country band that was around, and a bunch of those guys have like punk rock roots. And Casey Presswood, who's been around our scene forever, plays country music. He played pedal steel with them. Whatever. They put out great albums. I love Drag the River, one of my favorites, and that's a Drag the River song written by Chad Price. And we kind of threw the rule book as we're only a 4-piece band, so we there's piano on there's pedal steel, like all this stuff on that song. So production wise, we kind of went all in, a bunch of shit that we can't recreate, but it was really just for the record as a nod to a great Colorado band that's no longer. But like a song like that, I would think maybe doesn't gain as much traction as others. But again, I could be wrong. I don't know. I love the song. Like we wouldn't have put it on a record if we didn't.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite Drag the River songs, and it's neat the way the chords change in it, and just musically, it's a very interesting country song. It's a lot more difficult than it sounds, and it was just cool. It was kind of a different way of approaching things, a challenge. But
nice.
Maybe that's one of them.
Now, all right, this is gonna sound. Speaking of favorite children and non-favorite children, and when it comes to music, do you have a song that you guys have put out that, like, if you never sing it again, it would be too soon?
There's a couple off the last record that I tend to skim over. Heart in a Sling. I don't know, like, again, like I try and not, like, if people want to hear those songs, like I try and not get an ego about it, or like, feel indifferent. Like, I will play those songs,
Yeah. Now, do you have reason why you don't care for those songs, or
to me they don't, they maybe never, like, we never maybe arrange them, or the feel of them aren't the way that maybe I really wanted. And you know, or a song now that I wouldn't put on a record, like
Sure.
hindsight's 2020 with all this shit, but it's like at the time you have what you have for material and you cut it, you do it, mix it, and you put it out. And
Right.
like my buddy Craig, he always says, he's like, you just put the shit out, man. Like, don't think too hard about it. And like, people like it, they like it. If they don't, you just move on to the next.
Right. So now, you were talking earlier about, starting to write songs again and all that stuff. Like, what do you have now? I know, brand new album and all that stuff, but like, what do you have that's new that you've been working on that, could potentially come out, at some point?
I probably have 5 or 6 songs in the bag.
Nice.
I just demo them at home. Like, I got a small home studio and, program the drums and, plug in guitars and whatever. I just to get versions out for the guys to hear. And like, I'll send them to our guitar player and he'll lay down his guitars on them. Our pedal steel guy, he'll do his thing. And like, we just kind of bounce them around. And, if we want to change shit, we'll change shit. And, yeah, probably 5 or 6 that, I'd love to get back in the studio. We were actually just talking about it this morning, maybe June or sometime this summer, like try and go cut a couple few. And, I just want to keep, that's the one thing I want to do different this year is just kind of keep the material flowing, like whether it's on the writing side or the recording side, like just keep the ball rolling on that.
Now, is that something you guys have decided, like, as a unit you should do, or has somebody said to you, hey, maybe you should keep it coming?
No, I just think it's one of those, like, it's easier to stay in motion than to get in motion, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's just keep the train rolling and the material moving, and it's like try not to get stale as a songwriter. And again, like, that's my favorite part of it. Like, I try not to get so like punch drunk by playing so much live that like that the creative part still exists.
Sure. Now, speaking of playing live and albums and coming out, would you ever consider doing a live album?
Man, it's funny. I had this conversation with Ben the other day. Like, I'm not a huge live album person. Like,
Really?
there's a few that I really like some of the old Bob Seger live records, Elton John, which is kind of always a staple for me. But there's only, like, I could probably count on one hand the live albums that I really like. And I see a lot of live albums come out, and I'm like, I always try and give them a listen, and it just doesn't have that like intimacy. There's like, it's weird because like, right, live is a very candid, intimate thing.
Yeah.
But, like, it's so hard to translate that into like a record. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I totally understand what you're saying, because I think you're in the majority with that, to be honest with you, because I know a lot of people that would rather a studio album than a live record.
Yeah. I mean,
like where I, on the other hand, like, I would much prefer to hear a live album than a studio album.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but you're in the same breath. There are a lot of live albums where it's like, oh, no, let's not do that again. Like, I love Ko Wetzel, right? Love Ko Wetzel.
Okay.
But his live album that he just came out with, I think it's fucking terrible.
Just why? Like, he's not singing enough? Like,
I think it's more like the feel. Like, I think you're right. Like, there's, when I listen to bands like Ko Wetzel and Treaty Oak Revival and, those kind of like heavier red dirt scene acts that are out right now, like, I want to run through the goddamn wall. But like, when I when I hear, a live recording, like Ko's live album, I'm like, where's the like, I want to get into a fist fight with somebody. Not that I would, you know what I mean? But like that, like, like, I can't put this on and lift weights at the gym.
Hard to
Not
do.
that I do that either, but
Probably my favorite live record that's in this vein. I was actually there and I'm not just saying this because I was there for the recording, but I truly, truly love that record. Is Band of Heathens put out a live record in Denver. They recorded at Cervantes in Denver, and that record is so good. But they're like, those guys are a fucking force live. Like the
Oh yeah.
musicianship and the patience they have as musicians and the build they create within their songs. Like that album's really fucking good. Um, but yeah, I always check them out. Like when they come out, I haven't heard the Co one, but it's really it's a tough thing to do, especially in the
Yeah.
big amphitheaters and the big rooms.
Yeah. But it's also funny too because there's also bands that I would much rather see live than I would rather hear than listen to their studio albums.
That's fair.
Like I love Charles Wesley Godwin, right? But like his studio albums could put me to sleep.
Yeah.
But the same songs live, it's like he cranks it up to 11. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, and like I've definitely said this before. Like we're way more country on the record. We're more of a rock and roll band live.
Right.
It's turned up a notch, and it's different. Like there's different instruments, and like we just approach it differently. But I think that like that you have to like
Yeah.
when you make
You definitely have to.
that's your chance to like you have all of the instruments, you have all the different colors and palettes and all the shit to make your painting. Whereas live, like we're four dudes, right? Bass, two guitars, and a drummer. Sometimes we got a pedal steel player in tow, and it's like we got to do it our way live.
Right.
And sometimes
Absolutely.
That's not always the move on the record is to just be two guitars, bass, and drums recorded. Like it needs other palettes, colors, but live with loud ass guitars on stage and fucking Ben. I don't think Ben knows how to hit a drum lightly. Like that's its own thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I say that because I think of Band of Heathens, right? Where I've never seen them live, but you hear studio recordings, and like for me, it's like some of their stuff is just slow, and it's like,
This
okay, like let's get this going. But like based on what you're saying, that's not necessarily the way it is live.
dude, they're fucking rock and roll band live. They're
Right.
kill. And I love I definitely don't love every Heathens record. Their early shit for me is just like a special place, and it was a different time then, and I love their early records, but they crush live. They're so good.
But it's funny because it's like Hurricane may be one of my top 5 all-time favorite songs,
Yeah.
right? And but like I hear their version of it, right? And then I hear like somebody else do it, and I always like somebody else's version every time over
Over
their
Heathens.
own fucking song, right?
But you watched them play that song live. Like I remember where I was the first time I heard that song live, before it even came out. I was in Steamboat. They were playing outside right at the bottom of the ski slope, and I remember they played it, and I turned to my buddy. I'm like, that was a fucking great song. And I remember I went looking for it, and then I found out it was a Levon Helm song, and they didn't write it, whatever. But they resurrected that song like in a
Yeah.
bit. But they play it live, and again, it's a fucking rock. Like if you ever catch them, like I think you'd agree with me that they crush it. But yeah, a lot of people do renditions of it. We've done renditions of it. That song just always goes over well.
Yeah, because it's a well-written song.
It's almost like the wagon wheel of our genre. Kind of. I don't want to give it that much purpose. It is a fabulous song.
Wagon Wheel sucks, Shay. Fucking worst song you could have picked. But yeah, but like I think Levon and the band and all that, like they've always had those songs, right? Like they have these classic iconic songs, but somebody for some reason there's always a better version of already great songs.
Yeah. I mean,
if that makes sense.
I mean, that's a tale as old as time, right? I mean, everybody is off of Bob Dylan shit, right? That just, it's, people rethink and rework shit, or they hear it a certain way. Like, actually, Silverado just came out with a song with I think Rob Lines is how you say it, and they redid it. There was the popular version was a Jackson Browne song. I can't remember who the original writer was, but like the Jackson Browne version is not very good, and I love Jackson Browne. I mean, he's a fucking great writer. Like, he's put out so much magnificent music. But, like, Silverado, like, they heard this melody in that song that is just, like, killer. And it's kind of buried in the Jackson Browne version. It's there, but it's, like, not front and center like the way Silverado did it with the pedal steel. And, like, that Silverado version is fucking awesome.
Yeah. Because I always think about the night they drove old Dixie down. And, I'm not the biggest Zach Brown fan, but their version of that song, every time I've heard it, has just been fantastic.
Dude, however you feel about him, undeniably a killer band.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's more Zach that I don't like. But, but yeah, like, great version, and I'm like, I love that, because it's like, I'm not gonna lie to you, until you said it, I had totally forgotten that Hurricane wasn't a Heathen song,
Right.
but like, I guess that also plays to how well they did it, and then how well others did it, and so on and so forth, that like, it gets lost in a shuffle of, all right, whose song is this really?
Yeah. Yep.
It's kind of like when you tell people that, or when people don't know that Crazy is a Willie Nelson song, and, they have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yep.
But, here we are. So, Shay, I can't thank you enough for taking time on a Sunday of all days to, sit here with me and shoot the shit about nothing and everything all at the same time.
No, I appreciate you doing it, man. Again, like, we're trying to hit the beat and promote our record, and you've always helped us out and been a part of it. So, I appreciate you plugging it and doing the podcast, and yeah, man.
Dude, I was telling your guy I said to your guy in your email, what's his name, Mike, right? Because we were Matt, we were texting about it the other day, and I had emailed him back. I was like, I've had access to this album for so long that I forget it's like not out, like, for the general public, like, because we'll do Song of the Day every now and again when I think about it, and I'm like, and I'll listen to it, through my phone or whatever, in the car or whatever. I was like, I need to put this song out as a Song of the Day, and I'm like, I fucking can, like.
There's 3 that you could, but yeah, I mean,
well, yeah,
2 more
but
weeks.
Like, those aren't the 3 I want to do, man.
3 more weeks, man. It's all yours.
That's right. That's right. Well, at this point, this week, it's all mine.
This week, yes. This week, everywhere you.
Yeah. So yeah, do that thing. Tell everybody how to get it, where to get it. Because this is coming out on Tuesday. It's Tuesday now that this is out. So Friday will be the day, right? That's how that works.
Friday will be the day. April 25th. High Spirits, new record. We have, if you really want to support the thing, streaming's always good. Whatever, that's always there. It's anywhere people stream, but we have signed and unsigned vinyls on the website, and signed CDs, unsigned CDs. Some people prefer them unsigned, so we offer those too. But yeah, vinyl and CD, that's always a great way to support independent music. Buying merch, I always say we're glorified T-shirt salesmen and selling black T-shirts by the masses. And yeah, I mean, it'll be out, and we're stoked on it. I just hope people listen to it, check it out, tell their friends, and share it, follow. All that stuff is free. It helps us. It helps promote the thing, and it's all you can do.
Yeah, man. And like I said, I've had the opportunity to hear albums before they come out, and this is only the second album I've listened to regularly since I've had it before the general public. So,
well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. You've always been supportive, and fellow New Englander and all that good shit. So, man, I've appreciated being able to come on, chop it up with you.
Anytime. I appreciate you. I appreciate the friendship we've created. So thank you for that.
You bet, man. I'll have to drop in. We're coming back for the 4th to see friends and family and all that shit. So
yeah, keep me posted. If you got time, I'll love to see you again.
We're probably gonna stay for a week. So yeah, dude, we should definitely link up. I know, I'm sure the kids will want to go to Boston, and I don't know, maybe try and do a Red Sox game or something.
Yeah. Let me know if I know plenty of time in advance. I can make anything work. So,
Hell yeah.
all right, buddy.
All right, man.
Cool. We'll see you soon. And man, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. This album is fantastic.
Thank you, brother. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
I appreciate it. I'll keep tagging you in unsolicited shit.
That's fine. It's something happened the other day, and I was like, "What the fuck am I getting tagged in?" And I was like, "Oh, all right, cool."
Yeah.
It's like no problem.
All right, man.
Because it happens, and I don't pay attention to a lot of things, and when I saw your stuff, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool."
Yeah.
I love it. Well, keep up the good work, Shay, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, man.
All right, buddy.
Later.
There you have it, everyone. Our conversation with Shay, the Barlow. Check them out again. New album Friday, dropping Friday. I've probably if they had $1 for every time I have listened to it from start to finish, they'd have like $10. No, they've had more than that, but it's because it's really fucking good. Um, yeah, these songs are great, and it just goes to show that big, small, in the middle, like you can fucking do it. You can do it, and you can do it well, and with integrity. That's a big part of it too. So again, thanks for being here. We will see you next Tuesday. Wes Ship will be here next Tuesday. The following Tuesday, Nick Casey will be here. The only way that will change is if like somebody ginormous calls tomorrow and fucks it all up. But right now, West Ship next Tuesday, the following Tuesday, Nick Casey. Um, there might be a weekend drop in there too. I have one episode I came across that I totally fucking forgot that I recorded back in February, right after Valentine's Day. So I got to put that out. So that's probably going to be coming up soon. We got some other things done, so we gotta get it up. We're still working on episode 300. Who that's going to be? That's coming up real soon too. I I can't believe all the shit that's coming. So anyway, thanks for being here. See you next week, guys. And yeah, what do I always say? Oh, keep your boots on the ground, whiskey in the glass. Blah 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 blah. It's getting old. It's stale. So we'll see you down the road, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday. Cheers, guys.